Mr. Sawyer, is your family enjoying their stay?
Very much so. They're shocked you gave us the entire floor.
After your security assessment, what do you think of the building?
With all due respect, he's a glorified security guard.
Please.
The Pearl is the tallest, most advanced building in the world. You've built a vertical city, but you've brought with it every single safety and security challenge that I could think of.
We thought this floor was empty.
So did I.
Not only have you brought them all indoors, but you've trapped them 240 floors in the air. No one really knows what would happen if things go wrong.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the LuckyDog podcast. This is your host Elias Rauch. Today we are discussing Skyscraper, directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. Rawson Marshall Thurber, goodness, that is a heck of a name, is known for movies such as Dodgeball, Central Intelligence, We're the Millers, and this more recently, this classic Skyscraper featuring The Rock. So Skyscraper, a father goes to great lengths to save his family from a burning skyscraper, which is basically the essential plot of the movie. I mean, it doesn't really get any more essential than that, just bare basics. This movie is the American Ninja Warrior of movies. It's fun, but hella dumb. The action pieces were really fun. They were shot really well. I thought that for a comedy, sort of a comedy director, I thought this guy brought a lot of good choreography and direction to this film. I was not expecting too good of action. I mean, it kind of looked like a B film from the trailers and from what I had seen and coming up to it. I was just like, this is going to be some schlocky mess. But it might be a little bit of fun. I think this was pretty fun. This was not a full price movie by any means, but the action pieces were executed to a level where I thought were done really well. I couldn't say I was ever really bored. The levity with the humor that was kind of sprinkled in there ever so often, it generally worked. It wasn't like we just stopped to tell a joke most of the time. I don't think they really did that. There were a lot of graphics, like animated graphics of the actual building, the skyscraper, and of how the skyscraper worked, the towers, the fire, the security, the different parts about the skyscraper were explained extremely well through the language of animation and graphics. And I thought they all were done really well, almost to a fault at the beginning when there is so much information given on these graphics of this building. It is like, oh my gosh, we have to almost start taking notes because it's just too much information. So the tower was done really well. Clearly, it was all CGI. I thought the CGI mostly held up throughout most of the movie. There's one or two scenes where you could tell where The Rock and another individual were standing in front of a screen, but the majority of it looked pretty good because they were inside of a building or in some sort of architecture that was around them. The tower was mentioned that it was close to the 3 times the size of the Empire State Building, which by my calculations, the Empire State Building's almost hitting skyline as is. So if you triple that, I think it would be over at least hitting the clouds. I mean, I'm no scientist or anything, or weatherman or whatever you want to call it, but I'm pretty sure this skyscraper would be in the clouds. So I'm not sure if the actual skyscraper was ever really shown for the full scale that it was. The last set piece was one of my favorites. I'm not going to talk about it till we get in the spoiler section, but I do think that it was unique and for how to end the movie. A couple things I wasn't so hot with were the introduction of the building. Like I said earlier, it was almost too much graphics, too much information, too much just like the building can do this, it can do that, it can do this and that, and we're gonna have this, and we're gonna do that, and then it can feature one of these and do one of those, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, is this imperative to the movie? Am I gonna need to know this? Is there a test after this or something? Will Sawyer, the name, does anyone think that The Rock would ever be named Will Sawyer? Now, if you think they would be, then, check us out. LuckyDog Podcast, Twitter is LuckyDog Podcast, all that. Let us know if you actually think that would actually happen. Because I don't think anyone would name this guy Will Sawyer. They should have done a name change or something like that. I don't know. I did enjoy the diversity. I didn't get to mention that in the good things, but there was a fair amount of diversity. They had a interracial relationship. I mean, they did a good job to put us in a 2018 and progressive 2018 environment, and I enjoyed that, and I'm glad they put us in that state. The Rock essentially had a suicide wish with all the ridiculous things that he was putting himself through. I'm not talking anything detailed now. He didn't literally have a suicide wish, but it was ridiculous, the type of stunts that this guy was trying to go through just to go get his family. It felt like it would have been easier to steal a helicopter than to do half of the things that he did. In the trailer, this is not a spoiler, but it shows him jumping from a crane onto the building, and in showing it, it's even seeing it, it's just like, what, where did the logic go? Where did your logic go? I mean, at the very beginning, he's in Afghanistan, or he's not in Afghanistan. He's a soldier, and he's in there's a suicide bombing, and he's exposed to it, and it feels like all of his marbles left after that. It was something crazy. I mean, but this guy has lost a leg. This guy in the suicide bombing that happens at the very beginning of the movie. This is not a spoiler or anything like that. It's at the very beginning. He doesn't have a leg when he's jumping, and so the things that he's doing throughout the movie are just insane. Like the logic just does not make sense, and he's freaking MacGyver all over the place, and it's essentially the Rock in Die Hard, when it comes down to the bad guys. So the writing was kind of dry. It wasn't boring. I wouldn't say the writing was ever like boring me to tears or something like that, but the writing was never punched up to the point where it was smart. Like it kind of, I think the people behind this kind of knew what this movie was going to be, and I think that's kind of where they landed in the middle. I think if they might have had one or two extra comedic writers come on to on the script, they probably could have had something, really worth showing off. The Rock and his wife, played by, what is her name? Sorry. Her name is Neve Campbell, who plays Sarah Sawyer. And I just didn't really feel the chemistry between Neve Campbell and Dwayne Johnson. They worked well on screen in the actual setting, I think. The actual, skyscraper setting, saving their kids and whatnot. But when they were on screen together, I never really felt like they clicked. They didn't click in a way like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did in the San Andreas movie with I think her name was Gina. What is her name? Carla Gugino. Oh my gosh. Well, the wife, love interest, I think it was an ex-wife in San Andreas, they seem to click a lot better than this love interest in this. Something that was actually pointed out is, I don't think they always need to have a love interest in these type of movies. Now, I know that this is a family, so it kind of just makes more sense for there to be a love interest and, save the kids, save the family kind of thing. But honestly, I really do like it when movies have an equilibrium and they can be friends. They don't always have to be sleeping with each other or be married or even have a relationship. They can just be friends and they're just trying to get out of the situation. But yeah, I enjoyed seeing them all escape as a family, but I don't think they ever really clicked as one. The several action shots that happened with her were really close up. There was an action shot with Nev Campbell, Sarah Sawyer in the back of. I don't want to go too in detail actually till we get to the spoilers, but there's a couple scenes, and I think that they should have widened the shot. The way they did it, they shot it so quickly, all you can see is their faces and rumbling and people tumbling all over each other, and you can't see anything that's going on, so it just made it a little bit less believable. So the bad guys, yeah, they were completely incompetent, and it was extremely predictable about where it was all going, with the exception of maybe the last the very final act. I kind of knew. I mean, I never really felt like too much danger, but I did feel the fourth act was not what I was predicting. I was expecting, one thing, and I got another thing, but it wasn't a bad thing. I'll explain a little bit more spoilers here in a minute. Finishing up, I thought that the predictability was a little bit too choreographed. I think I wanted there was a lot of people outside of the building, and they kept explaining how there was nobody inside the building. I think I wanted people inside the building, not like perishing or anything like that, nothing crazy, but I needed people to be, everyone felt very safe with the exception of the family, and I never really felt like the family was in that much danger. But I think that one of the biggest things holding it back were there weren't just like random people that were getting affected by this, and so it felt very telegraphed and like very contained. I guess I think that's the right word, is contained. Even though it was going through the building, and technically it wasn't contained, but I never felt like the general public was in that much danger. I don't know. I kind of felt like that should have been a little bit more explained or brought forth. So let's jump into spoilers real quick. I never really felt that the family was in that big of danger. I didn't want to go into explanation of why, but like the kids, it's kind of like the Jurassic Park thing. You know that they're going to go see the dinosaurs. You know they're going to go through, get scared, all of that. But nothing really bad's ever really going to happen to the kids. This is one of those movies. I knew that everyone was going to be fine at the end. I never really felt like we were going to lose anybody. At one point, I was thinking that we needed to divide the team, or divide the family, so that we could see them on their own and weaken them a little bit, because I mean they were going strong as a family, and once they were all together, they were team. Especially, I mean, The Rock literally killed a guy. Well, the guy was trying to kill his wife, but they were a solid team. One of the biggest glaring issues of this entire thing is that The Rock didn't really have a security team. I don't know why, but I feel like he would have some sort of team, some sort of company, some sort of agency that would be in charge of working the security detail with him, so it wouldn't be just him. And somebody, I felt like we were missing a team that was working behind the scenes to stop the fire. and stop like the bad things from going on behind the scenes. And we were missing his tech team, and so that's where I thought that Levi Schreiber was kind of wasted. If they wouldn't have made him bad, they probably could have brought him back, and he probably could have helped him or something like that. But I didn't feel that there was I didn't like how it was wrapped up so cleanly. Just reboot the system, like that's all you had to do. Why didn't the police do that, or other individuals? There's more than just one individual that is in charge of rebooting a system, and that person happens to be in the building. That I don't think so. Like you would have a whole team. Now if the whole team was like in the building helping him, now that would have been really interesting. I'm aware of a lot of the dumb things that this movie brings, but I'm also kind of overlooking them as well, just because I kind of knew what kind of movie this was. This wasn't like supposed to be, Oscar worthy. This wasn't supposed to be Avengers Infinity War. This was supposed to be like right in the middle, kind of B plus A minus movie grade, and I'd say it kind of hit that sweet spot. It was like I said, dumb fun, and I wouldn't say anything bad about anyone that liked this movie, because I think that it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. That's really all I gotta say about it. I mean, it's a solid film, and it's nothing that you're gonna be clamoring for or anything like that. But yeah, I think that this is a solid movie. Rate, share, subscribe. Check out the movie in the theaters. I think that it definitely works in there the best. I'm not sure how this is going to work on television. This does work with a bigger screen. I bet IMAX this worked really good. But yeah, check us out on Twitter, LuckyDog Podcast. Email us at theluckydogpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. Rate, share, subscribe. SoundCloud, YouTube, everything, all the popular podcast apps.
They chose this building.
My family is the only thing that matters to me right now.